What does the future of energy supply look like in Europe? Well, we're joined by Asgeir Thomasgaard from Norway. That is Europe's second largest gas supplier after Russia, and could soon, I suppose, Asgeir, become the biggest supplier in the long term.
Yeah, it seems like in the long term, if you look at natural gas supply from a security of supply perspective, it doesn't seem like Russian gas will be attractive at all over the next few years.
And does Norway play a role in all of this?
Well, what Norway is doing at the moment is to maximize its own natural gas production and exports, of course. So the Norwegian natural gas production and exports has been running at full speed and at full capacity over the last years, and is continuing to do so.
What way does this change the map of supply over Scandinavia, over Western Europe?
Yeah, so what we are seeing now is that the Norwegian gas is going into the markets like it used to, but during this autumn there will be a new pipeline open that goes to Denmark and Poland. It doesn't mean that there will be much more natural gas from Norway going into the market, but it means that there is more flexibility on where to route this natural gas. For example, the volumes going into Poland from Russia could be replaced by Norwegian gas. So even though the total volumes doesn't increase, the flexibility in terms of where to deliver the natural gas increases.
Okay, that's interesting. So can the total volumes be increased? I mean, is there a reason why? I mean, I presume Norway is exporting as much, or at least using as much oil as it possibly can, or is there more that could be used by other parts of the EU?
No, so at this stage we are exporting at full capacity from Norway, and if you want to have higher exports, you will need to develop new production fields and also build new transportation capacity into the markets. And these are, of course, measures that would take some years to implement. And in the long run, you would also have to find more natural gas in order to be able to replace the Russian gas by Norwegian gas.
And how does all of this fit into the green plans that the world has mapped for itself?
I think we will see that this means that there will need to be an acceleration in the transition in Europe. I think Europe already had quite ambitious plans in terms of a zero-emission energy system, and I think this will obviously lead to an acceleration. And the reason is, I think that even if at the moment Russian gas is flowing into the markets, not as normal, but almost as normal, I think we will see that there is a less interest to focus on natural gas from Russia as a source into the national energy systems of European countries. And I think that will lead to an acceleration in phasing out,
well, that's
for sure,
good
Russian gas, but
that's
also
good. Sorry, I was just saying that's good to hear. But the thing is, here and now, is that people are facing huge increases in their energy bills, and the very fact that, you know, we can redistribute, be less reliant on Russia is fantastic news. But will it impact on prices, or am I just being greedy talking about that?
No, I think everyone is interested in that question, and I think what we can see as short-term measures, we will see that there is a higher focus on energy efficiency and trying to use energy more efficiently and to reduce demand, and also prices will go down then. And also in terms of installing heat pumps, so that again electricity used for heating could be more efficient. I think we will also see in the short run more imports of LNG from other parts of the world, but I'm afraid that if you look at the short run, it will be noticed in the prices of energy that the Russian gas is less reliable.
Asgeir,
and I don't think that this is going to be solved in the very short run.
Okay, unfortunately. You just mentioned something there, and I was going to ask Isabel if she knew what this was, and then I thought, no, I'll ask you or ask both of you. Everybody always talks about these heat pump things. What is a heat pump?
Oh, don't ask me. I mean, it's something about getting the heat from underneath your own property, if I'm correct, from the ground. I mean, you're much more qualified to explain.
Yeah, do you happen to know? Do you know what a heat pump is, Asgeir, and what it does?
Sure. Yeah, so you could take that an air-to-air heat pump would take heat from the outside air, even if it is colder outside than inside. You could take heat from the outside air and use that when heating up your home through electricity. So that would mean 1 kilowatt hour in would lead to 3 or 4 kilowatt hours out, and you could do this also by extracting heat from the ground, like you say, and you could also have water-to-air heat pumps and water-to-water heat pumps, and all of these technologies could be implemented pretty quickly over the next years in many homes.
Although they're expensive, aren't they? I mean, you say they could be quickly implemented, but they're controversial here in this country when they've been suggested.
Why are they controversial?
Well, because the suggestion is ordinary people have to pick up the bill to pay for this when they've got boilers or whatever else
The theory
already.
being, or the fact being, or the science being, Asghar, that the ground is hotter than the air. That bit I sort of understand. But how can you take cold air from the outside? You have to use some sort of fuel to heat that, surely, for it to be in the inside. You've lost me on that one.
Well, that's the fantastic principle of the heat pump, that even if it is colder outside than inside, there is still heat energy in the air, so that when you provide 1 kilowatt hour into the heat pump, it is able to extract 3 to 4 kilowatt hours under good conditions by utilizing this outside air. So the outside is getting a little bit colder, but outside doesn't notice much, but inside is getting warmer, which is the main principle.
So it needs some energy input, but you export more.
Right.
Almost taking
Brilliantly explained. Brilliant. Tell me, but your point is.
I'm like the intermediary here.
The government. You're thinking the government should be saying, "We'll pay for this."
I don't have a view on it, but I know that there is controversy about whether it's insulation, whether it's heat pumps, about who's going to pay for it. Is it the taxpayer? Is it, ordinary bill payers? Who's going to pay for it at the end of the day? Probably it always comes down to the same thing as ordinary people. I just wanted to finish by asking Asghar about the situation in Poland and Bulgaria. Obviously, Russia having a fight with them over the payment of the energy that they're providing. But they've said that they've got reserves that will last, through at least the short term. Is that correct? And would your Baltic pipe be able to help Poland out come the autumn for that?
Yes, so what we heard from Polish officials is that the storages are quite a lot filled up, considering what time of year it is. And it's true that this new Baltic pipeline, as it's called, that will come into operation in October, will be able to provide flexibility into the Polish system in particular. For Bulgaria, I don't know if they are in the same good condition, but this is something that, of course, there is a well-functioning market for natural gas in Europe, so that there will be possibilities to provide some flexibility also to Bulgaria from other European countries.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.